The question is if I have a conscientious objection to doing something along those lines, should I have a right not to be compelled by the state? I would argue, yes, you should have a right not to be compelled by the state to do that. That doesn't mean that what you're doing is necessarily right, though. I think that a conscience, I think we should have the freedom from the state to make the wrong decisions on some occasions. I think the state has grown to this imposing of all kinds of things that they really are not equipped to do. So that is really two separate questions, I guess. Like, one is, what does the state have the power to do? But then the question is, what should my conscience be? How should my conscience be formed in those kinds of situations? And I believe that we must love same-sex couples as our neighbors, and we must treat them the way we would treat our neighbors who are heterosexual in a wide number of situations. Now, the wedding is a situation where we can't. And there may be situations where, I'd say Union University has married housing. I think Union University needs to, and will be forced to at some point, take a stand to say this is heterosexual married housing. Those kinds of issues are there, but I do think there are a lot of other situations where we interact with same-sex couples simply as neighbors and should love them as neighbors. One more, yeah, Deborah?
If there's like for honeymoon situations or just whatever, how would that be handled for a Christian couple that owns a bed and breakfast or that kind of thing?
Questions about, bed and breakfasts or honeymoons. I mean, there you've got to decide, I guess, what kind of business is it that you're operating. If it's a honeymoons kind of business, I mean, has it always been your policy only to allow married couples to use it? I think if it has, then you should continue to apply that same policy, which, given that you don't recognize same-sex couples, then you don't allow them to use it. But if you've ever decided, the kind of business I'm running is not oriented just for married couples, then I don't think you could make a special exception in this case. That's a pretty complicated issue.
Say in 10, 20 years we decide to open it, as Christians, should we have that guideline to start it with? You know what I'm saying? Like, should that, as Christians, I mean, I would think so, but
yeah, I mean, that's certainly, I would see the reasoning behind that. I mean, if you want to run a bed and breakfast, I'd say you should in theory have the right to run it the way that you want to. The government probably won't allow you to, but yeah, you do need to ask those kind of questions. I don't have all the answers to that, but you do need to ask those questions if you're going to open such a business, I think. Man, you guys have tough questions. This is why we're going to come up with the hardest ones we can think of for Clint in a few weeks, right? All right, well, thank you all for your time, and you are dismissed.